One of the most difficult parts about learning to play the cello, of course, is learning to play in tune. So it's really important that you always start off with your cello as in tune as you can get it every time you practice or have a lesson. Now, professionals will usually use a tuner to get the A string in tune, and then get the other strings in tune by listening to the sound of the two strings together. But that takes some practice and some experience. So today I want to give you some suggestions about some ways you can get your cello in tune, tuning each string individually using a tuner. Now, tuners used to be sort of expensive to get a good one, but fortunately these days you can get some pretty decent tuner apps for your phone or tablet. A lot of them are free. The one I'm using is called ClearTune. I think I paid like $5 for this, and a lot of my professional colleagues like this one. But there are lots of different ones you can find, so you can kind of search around. Now, once you have your tuner app, you have the tuner up, one thing I want you to notice is if I bow on the string and I'm watching for the needle to be in the top, you may notice that the needle fluctuates a little bit if I'm playing louder or softer. It's not really supposed to do that, but strings are always just a little bit inconsistent. So it's important that you always try to play with a full and consistent sound when you're tuning, and turn the tuner while you're bowing. Now this is kind of difficult in the cello because it's hard to reach the tuner. I have long arms and I can barely reach the tuners. So I have two suggestions for that. The first one is to put the neck of your cello on the wrong side of your neck. Feels kind of strange, but this way you should be able to more effectively reach the tuner. Now for the A and D string, you can reach over your bow, and now I can pretty easily reach the tuner. And this way I can turn the tuners while I'm bowing fairly easily. When I get to the lower strings, then I need to put my hand under the bow, but you can experiment to see what works for you. Another way to do it is to put your arm on the wrong side of the neck and reach around this way. Then your cello is going to kind of go over to the side. That might work for you. It doesn't work as well for me, and I can see my shirt is kind of hitting the string, but you might try that out, especially for the lower strings might be another way to do that. So then you want to just be trying to get the tuner, the needle of the tuner, lined up as well as you can, and I'll show you on the D string. You can see I'm definitely kind of low. Now, sometimes it's a question of which way do you turn the tuner. One way to think of it as if you think of the tuner as a tiny jar lid, and if you're turning it to make the lid tighter, that's going to make the pitch go higher. If you're turning it to make the lid looser, that's going to make the pitch go lower. So that's one way to think of it. After you do this for a while, you probably won't have to think of it that much, but one of the main ways things to remember is that if the needle is getting farther away from the center, then you're probably turning it the wrong way. If it's getting closer to the center, you're probably going the right way. So you just watch the needle. This is what happens to turn green when you get to the top, which is helpful. When you get to the bottom, you may notice, especially on the C string, that instead of a C showing up on your tuner, that it might show up as a G. Or your A string might show up as an E. That's because the tiny little microphone in your phone is not that great at picking up these low pitches. If that happens, you might try making the phone a little closer to your string or a little farther and see what works. Maybe you need to play a little louder. If none of those things work and you're playing your C string and it still shows up as a G, just get the needle to go straight up and down for G, and you'll probably still be in tune. When you get to the bottom, then it's probably a good idea to go back and check your A again, because sometimes by the time you get to the low strings, your A string will have gotten a little bit out of tune. So I hope these suggestions are helpful. One other thing just to point out about some of these tuners, like this one in particular, has an adjustment you can make for different kind of tuning systems. Believe it or not, there's more than one way to play in tune, and there are lots and lots of different tuning systems. This one happens to be adjustable, so if I hit this little I here, a menu comes up for different tuning systems, and if you see where it says temperament, if I tap on that one, then I have all these different kind of tuning systems, and what I like to plug in is where it says violin family. I feel like going string by string, that probably gets me the closest to being in tune. So I hope these suggestions are helpful. Try to get your cello in tune and keep practicing.